Oyako Donburi is a traditional dish. It's made in like a broth, which is prepared in a little saucepan, and you add chicken, you add some vegetables, and you crack an egg in it, and you kind of boil the egg on top of it, and it's all served over rice. So let's take a look at that right now and see how you can make Oyako Donburi. All right, those are the ingredients that we'll be using for both dishes today. Now, this is a concentrated soup base. It's a soy-based concentrate. And this is a really handy thing to have in the fridge because you can use it with a variety of different dishes. Morisoba, sukiyaki, and even tempura sauce, depending upon how much water you dilute it with. Now, we're cutting carrots here, and this technique is called Julienne. You've probably heard of the Julienne cut before. It's a very simple cut. You're going to slice them into diagonals, and then you're just going to cut them very thin this way and make these nice little strips. So this is how you Julienne carrots. Next up, we're just cutting the piece of cabbage here. The cabbage is not going to be used for this donburi dish. It'll actually be used later for the second dish, the yakisoba dish. We will be using green onions in this dish, however, and I like to make sure that I wash and clean up all the green onions, and I take off any wilted or discolored parts of the green onion, only using the best part. And as you can see here, I'm kind of using this nice diagonal cut. It creates a really nice presentation, and it just makes the green onion look really nice in the dish. So I like cutting them into diagonals like this when I use them. And we're going to go back to that soy soup base that you showed earlier. We're going to do 3 parts water and 2 parts of the concentrated soup base. I'm using a tablespoon here, so this works out for 1 serving size of the donburi. And we're going to crack our egg here, and we're going to scramble it up. And keep in mind that the egg is a very important part of this dish as well, because the name Oyako Donburi is going to have some meaning here. So make sure your pan is nice and hot. Start it with a little oil, and we're going to put in our chicken. When cooking chicken, you want to make sure that obviously it gets cooked all the way through. Very important. And as we get the chicken going a little bit here, I like to actually start adding in some of the vegetables that take a little longer to cook. I usually start by adding in the carrots, and then I will add in the yellow onion at this stage as well, because I really want those 2 vegetables to get cooked down really nicely. And as I mentioned before, the name Oyako Donburi literally translates, it's made up of a couple of words, oya and ko. Oya means parent, and ko means child. So in some ways, you can look at the chicken as the parent and the egg as the child, hence the name Oyako Donburi. So we're going to make sure that all of these ingredients get nice and cooked up really evenly, and we want to get them a little bit on the softer side. You don't really want crunchy vegetables in your Oyako Donburi because it's not like a stir-fry dish, where it's okay to have those vegetables crunchy. You want to make sure that these vegetables get cooked down. And there's our soup mix that we made earlier, right? With the 3 cups, 3 portions water and 2 portions soup base. So as the vegetables cook, I'm going to add that soup base in there, and there's the magic little pat of butter. I don't know if you saw that go in there, but that's kind of the little secret ingredient. I don't know if the butter is really traditional, but it's kind of a little trick that I picked up in my cooking days from some various chefs that I worked with, and it just kind of smooths out the flavor a little bit. It adds a little extra dimension to it, and I just really enjoy that little pat of butter. So as you can see, we got a lot of steam going here. Usually I put a cover on top of this, but for the sake of filming, it would be difficult to see, so I left the cover off. And then you can see I added in this green onion as well, and the green onion is the very final vegetable I add because it cooks the fastest. So it's all about cook times and what you consider. My heat is a little bit on the high side here, but I would usually turn it down a little bit lower so it wasn't boiling, and I would leave a lid on top. And we're going to let all of this mixture kind of simmer and cook together here a little bit more. And you don't really see too many restaurants that serve Oyako Donburi these days. This is kind of like a comfort food. Really reminds me again of the time that I spent in Japan. You would order these in little small shops that were next to the road, and they just really hit the spot. They were inexpensive, and they were easy to make, and they were always delicious. And now at this time, when everything's almost ready, we're going to start adding in our scrambled egg on top. And again, like I mentioned before, if I did have a lid, I would actually put a lid over this pan and turn the heat down just to let it all cook together. And the egg kind of brings the entire dish together. And here we go. Now that the egg is relatively soft-boiled and cooked down, we're going to carefully pour this over the rice bowl that we had prepared earlier. And there we have it. That's how you make Oyako Donburi.